All right, cool. So I just want to take a second and welcome everyone to this masterclass. We have the legendary John Benítez, one of the great masters of the bass, from Latin music, straight ahead jazz, Latin jazz, really just an incredible artist. And I'm really thrilled that
All right,
he could be
cool.
giving us this
So I
class
just
today.
want to take a second
So thanks
and
so much for
welcome
joining
everyone
us.
to this master.
And John, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank everybody. I see some faces I recognize. Zach, thank you for inviting me to
Got it, man.
talk to the people of the organization here. I see that the guys that I know, they're educators and they're involved in education. I even see uh, my friend Ian Stewart that have write two books actually. The first one we write together, and the second one is a transcription he did. And he's an great guy too, and educator. And also my good friend, my brother Juan Galacunza, wonderful trombone player. Thank you. I want to pay respect to them. And to everybody here, God bless you and thank you for the opportunity. Um, the Afro Latin Jazz Alliance. Thank you for letting me communicate with you. In regards to the tumbao, I'm a bass player. I play upright. I play bass, acoustic bass, baby bass, and electric bass. And I was born in Puerto Rico, and I came up playing gospel music in Puerto Rico, and also playing percussion and I study in the Conservatory of Programa de Cuerdas para Niños, which is a special program for string program for kids in the conservatory. Then I went to the Escuela Libre de Música, which is something like La Guardia uh, music, like um, it's like a performing arts school in Puerto Rico. And I graduated, and I was in high school, or I mean in college already when I was 16. And from there I started playing, with Roberto Roena, Bata Cumbele, Papo Vasquez, um, wonderful trombone player. And he's actually the one who um, taught me what Latin jazz is, because I asked him what is Latin jazz after I was playing jazz in a place called The Place in the Old San Juan. I'm telling you a little bit of where I'm coming from, so you have an idea what my background. And he grabbed a record of Conjunto Libre, and he grabbed a record of John Coltrane, and he told me, brother, if you want to learn what is Latin jazz, you need to know what is jazz and what is Latin music. Then I learned that Latin music is not only Afro-Cuban music, it's actually Afro-Latino music, which is a bigger scope of all the DNA of the African heritage towards all Latin America, and also the combination and the roots that we have also from the Arabs and the Moroccan African is a mix with the Spaniards. So uh, the Caribbean is very the complexity of roots is huge. Yeah, there's many influences in the music, and all that came to me in my early age. Then after that, I got a call to play with Willie Colon. Willie Colon is a trombone player, salsa from the Fania All Stars, and I went on tour with him. I came here to New York, and then the next day I was on a plane to Paris. and then the rest is, you know, the domino effect, playing, and the blessings, you know. Oh, in Puerto Rico, I got the opportunity to play with Don Pullen, with Billy Harper, and also with Freddie Howard in Puerto Rico. So it was beautiful, you know, the opportunities that I had. But then when I came here, you know, I started working with Willie Colon, and then after that, you know, came the opportunity. I met Ron Carter in at the Bill Clinton inauguration, and he took me under his wings to to be one of his students in a city college, and I love him like my father. You know, he's like a father to me, and he did me so good, showing me the sound, working on the right hand, working on the left hand, the notes, the choice of notes, the choice of notes for the walking bass line, and also not only that, but the elegance and what it takes for a master bass player to really um, to really be the raider in a band and affect the harmony and affect all everybody in the rhythm section. And he showed me that. I learned that from him, watching him, and and many others. Yeah, yeah, also that I also have been influenced a lot by drummers, you know, and I play with Batacumbel in Puerto Rico, with the Grupo Saperoco, with Roberto Roena, and uh, many others. Then here, I start working with David Sanchez, with Danilo Perez, with Eddie Palmieri, and you know Papo Vasquez, his band here too, great band, and Maestro Chico Farrell too. I play subbing for after Andy and and Maestro Arturo Farrell, and so and so. So that's have been the experience that I had, you know, playing Latin jazz and playing jazz music, you know, and right now I'm in front of you, and thank you for the opportunity. So we are talking about, uh, we want to talk about freedom in the clave and freedom in tumbao, you know, and in order for you to have freedom, you need to understand the roots, and education is what brings freedom. The knowledge is what brings freedom in your playing. See, many people, they talk about Cuba, they talk about Puerto Rico, they talk about Dominican Republic, they talk about Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, but really they don't really do a study like really understanding. We are not ethnomusicologists, we are not anthropologists. But if you're a rhythm section player like I am, like you are, um, and you try to learn how to play, you need to also do some investigations and do research. Just the same way, if you want to play bebop or you want to play jazz, you have to check out the records. You got to know, you know, historically what comes from what and the connections. You cannot if you don't understand, you cannot play swing if you don't know Count Basie, if you don't know, Duke Ellington, if you don't understand Louis Armstrong, you know, if you don't understand really what's going on. But there is also other things that in the investigation that you're going to do to have freedom in the rhythm and connect the dots. You need to understand there are more things that unify us than things that separate us. like for example, if you read a little bit of the North Atlantic trade, and you understand that the center of the slave was the center of the trade was La Hispaniola, then you're gonna understand if you do common sense that most of the boats that they were coming, they did the trade, then they spread through all the Caribbean, so Latin America too, and you start connecting, and you see, if you see the rhythms, you're gonna see a lot of connections in the convergence points and things that unify the styles, starting from what we call folklore, you know, all the things that are related to folklore, food, religion, poetry, rhyme, all these things are connected. They are connected to, they're connected to, they connect the dots, and the music and the songs are also connected. For example, when you hear bomba from Puerto Rico, bomba sica, okay, when you pass me those papers that are there, yeah, in the box, no, in the box, in that box in the middle, right here. When you see that they're, yeah, those two, when you see that they're in bomba sica, okay, let me show you something here. Then I think you're gonna get a hold of this later. So you could, I don't know if you can read it. Tapa tum putum pata tum tum, right? When you see that, and you see tapa tum pum, ta ta tum tum tum, ta ta tum putum, ta ta tum tum, ta ta tum. That bomba is very close to the pattern, the pulse with other rhythms of the north of Brazil, and also with certain parts of Cuba, like certain rhythms that are more in the east part of the island of Cuba. Okay, como la macuta. Okay, so those rhythms in actually the songs and the dialogues were also spoken in some of them in Creole, some of influence after the. Also, we have to take in consideration historically what happened with the after the liberation of the war that was in Haiti. The spread that helped to spread a lot of slaves, and there were more connection in the islands, than in the rhythm. That's why this rhythm is related also to some rhythms from New Orleans, some rhythms that are throughout the Caribbean, also with the rhythm from Uruguay. Okay, so we have uh, we have a lot of connections. That's just one example with the bomba. So imagine, just to let you know, in Colombia there are more than 427 typical instruments in Colombia only. So when you speak about Afro-Latin music, you are not only speaking about um, Afro-Cuban music. You're talking about Afro-Cuban is great, Afro-Puerto Rican, Afro-Caribbean music, but we are talking here about the big enchilada, the big numbers, the big story, the big instruments, the big culture of Latin America that is united with America. America is one. So when I speak, when I go to New Orleans, I feel like I'm in Puerto Rico. When I go to Veracruz, or I go to I feel like I'm, wow, this is close. This is close to Cartagena, Colombia, close to or Viejo San Juan, or close to um, La Habana. Why I'm saying this? Because if you want to be a musician and you want to play and you want to learn about Latin music, you need to connect the dots, and you need to, little by little in your research, do a little, little by little, study, check out the records, check out the players. In terms of bass, I'm a bass player. If you're playing upright, you gotta understand that before son, son, from Cuba in English, there was a style called changui, okay, from Guantanamo. And changui had the instrument, the marimbula. The marimbula is an instrument from African ascent, ascendant. It's a heritage from the African culture, the marimbula, and it's pentatonic. So the good thing about that is when you hear los grupos de Changui, de Guantánamo, that's prior to song, there is no acoustic bass. It's the marimbola. The marimbola is playing the bass, playing the notes. Before La Botija, before the bucket with one string, or the botija with water, you know. So so marimbola, when you the good thing about that, check it out, Changui. The good thing is the phrases, because in Western civilization, everything is going in bars of 2, 4, mostly 8, 6, and that's because of it helps to with the harmonic rhythm for club and all that. But the good thing about the marimbola is because it's pentatonic, the harmonic rhythm and the phrases and the melody that the bass goes in the marimbola. It's very interesting because sometimes you hear bar phrases of 3. You know what I mean? So, and when you're expecting to hear the roots, you might get the 9, or you might get the 5th or the 6th, and that change the inversion and change the quality of the chord. So it's super hip. I recommend everybody to read the book from. There's some books now. That we have a doctor in New York that did a thesis about Changui research. He's unbelievable, Tresero, um, um, and you could get his name. I could give you his name with Zach later. And there's some groups, check out Grupo de Guantánamo de Changui. So his name is Ben Lapidus is the name of the tres player, Ben Lapidus. So this is it. So then we go into Tumbao. You need to check out son, then you go into grupos de cuarteto, conjunto, trio, all that, into moving into, then the acoustic bass came forward. And then you got people that you have to check. You have to check if you want to study in the bass, in the tumbao, you have to check out people como Cachaito, como Israel López Cachao, como Miguel Andino, Miguelón. There are also other players that that I'm gonna send a list in the PDF. Check out this the list that I'm going to send because we don't have all the time to talk everything here. And also the players that came out of that, like Bobby Rodriguez, el maestro Bobby Rodriguez, el maestro Andy Gonzalez, Eddie Guagua Rivera, which for me he was like Jimmy Garrison on the bass, unbelievable. Um, uh, Bobby Valentin on the electric bass. Salvador Cuevas that played electric and baby bass, unbelievable. Also Alma Kiven too, because you have also American players Afro-American players that studied and they were involved in the development of Latin jazz, like Maestro Almaquio. You have to check out those records with Carl Jader, also. So we have a lot of investigation that we have to do. Oh, the younger players now that they're alive and they're still playing, well, Pedrito Perez and Maestro Boy Valentin is still alive, you know. Maestro Joe Santiago, Maestro Polito Huertas, okay. Felipe Andín, Felipe Cabrera, Reverón de Cuba, Alain Pérez, more modern, you know, from Puerto Rico, Pedrito Pérez, Carlos Roldán, Jose Gamay, you know, all these players write it out and study it. That's without going into some other more modern styles like timba style, you know, like Maestro Carlos. You cannot let Maestro Formel. You have to study his style too, you know, and that's basically Juan Formel and his son Carlos Formel. So, and then Maestro Carlos del Puerto, one of the influence that, one of the first influence that I remember when I first listened to Irakere. Wow, and that blew my head, my mind. You know, still do. Now his son is playing with Chick Corea, Carlitos del Puerto. We have Carlos Enrique. We have Ricky Rodriguez, amazing bass players. Lucas Curtis. We have Ruben Rodriguez, Oscar Cartaya, John Peña, Francisco Centeno, and the list going on and on and on. That's just Puerto Rico, New York, LA, Cuba. Imagine Latin America so huge. We could take other masterclass to speak about other rhythms and other bass players. So that to get that in order, you know, I basically I wanted to give you freedom. First of all, for you to have freedom in clave, you need to have a little knowledge and a little direction about the codes and about how the folklore move in certain players, in the styles and what they do. And if somebody have questions, you could ask me now. Salsa playing. I mean,
I have a question.
uh-huh.
On your time with, it looks like your path through Patacumbele actually changed the mind of a lot of people. Changed the big maestro, the big percussionist who died a few years ago.
Angel Cachete Maldonado.
Angel Cachete. He influenced so many people, and he actually made. What was it? What was that experience like? I mean, what was it that it made it so different from before to after?
For me, with Batacumbele, I learned that the phrasing for this music, you have to play thinking on top. So you have to you need to play certain style of music, especially with the mixing of bata drumming and the jazz and rock influence and the salsa, the dance styles. And for me, I learned with him about how you should phrase and play with the percussion. I appreciate it, and I learned how to follow the percussion because I love percussion, but in the bass, how I should follow. Like you know, when you play, you know, they were influenced a lot by Ritmo Oriental, that group from Cuba, and also but they got their own flavor. Batacumbele, the flavor, they got the Cuban aspect, and but they also mix it with with the New York sound and the Puerto Rican Jibaro sound. You know what we call Jibaro, which is the peasant from the mountains. That sound, it was, you could hear that flavor in their music. So playing with them after Eddie Guagua,
Yeah.
it was for me a school because I told you, I mentioned before, Carlos, that he is like, for me, like a Jimmy Garrison of Latin music. Why Jimmy Garrison? Because Master Jimmy used to do a lot of pedals when he was playing. Like,
That's right.
when you play, umba, umba, chenga la comba, you hear that he was inflecting the rumba patterns and the tumbao patterns, but he was using double stops. He was using what we call in the bass double stops, fifth, and also doing using very modern, free style, and not free without giving support, but meaning that it's not constrict to he play melodically the tumbao. That's what I meant. It's a very very melodic tumbao, and also
Mm.
very 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 heavy on the sound because of the use of roots and fifth, seven, open. So it's like, and like um like something like that. Yo tengo azuquita en la cintura, pow, and then the style that he was using, it was boom 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 boom, very very melodic, very melodic. It's not like boom 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 ping pong. That is there, like the dotted quarter, but also other melodic aspects of the tumbao. You understand? If that helps.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for the.
Also,
John.
Giovanni was in the group. Cachete Maldonado,
I know.
Eric Figueroa, and when I play
The
with,
flute player. The flute player. What's his name?
huh?
The flute player. What's his name?
The trumpet player once,
The the, the flute player. The flute.
oh, the flute, Hector Veneros,
Hector Veneros.
Torres. Nestor Torres was one of the originals, and Jimmy Rivera on drums. I play with Jose, the original one from CLB, all of them, all the drummers,
Wow.
and it was a school.
That was the most amazing setup of musicians that I ever seen.
Yeah, from Puerto Rico. Yeah.
John,
Uh-huh.
maybe you can play for us and demonstrate some of these different styles of tumbao that you've been talking about.
Well, do we have? I have a salsa track that I put together because um, where I am, I don't have a percussion. I have to go to another place. So my son is hooking me up, so I could play something like a play along, and demonstrate what you can do with the freedom. And I'm gonna do it with just a simple tumbao. And okay, go ahead. So yeah, first understand. So it's a 2-3, right? One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4. Something like that. So what I'm trying to, you can stop it. So basically, what I did there is show you in just one tumbao, just a C7 and B flat, and different how the different aspect of the percussion, different when they go cascara, when they go campana, when they go a little pachanga feel. So I do something different, and that's without having a piano, without having a soloist or a singer. So because I could generate other movements. To do that, I need to understand the triads and need to use the triads in my benefit. Like there is a song by Tito Puente. So it's like this. Check it out. That kind of thing, and that's based on triad, timbombo, you know. and oh, that's another one from Tito Puente. So another one record that you should check is Top Percussion, Tito Puente. That's a killing record you should have. Also las descargas de Cachao. Eh, also any recording from Cuba that have Cachaito, that have Emilio Flynn, that have Gonzalo Rubalcaba father. Those recordings are very important too. You know, uh, and so far anything from la ritmo oriental, también eh, eh, las charangas, it's very important to study charanga styles, different styles that also change the way you play cachao, all the danzones, all the mambos. Uh, Tito Rodriguez, before Tito Puente, Mario Bosa, and Machito, Benny More, Armando Manzanero, everything. We have to check everything, you know. Arsenio Rodriguez, very important, you know. Uh, all that music, Puerto Rico, el gran combo, el combo del ayer, eh, Cortijo y su combo, La Máquina del Tiempo, Daniel Santos, Mon Rivera, you know, and all that stuff. Another question, somebody, is that good? Can somebody hear the bass? Everything cool?
Sounds great, man. We can hear it clear.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
I got a question, John.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your time with David Sanchez's group? Because that group played quite a bit together, and as you're talking about like freedom and sort of melding styles together, and also even some of the things that you talk about learning from Ron Carter, how the bass kind of works in an ensemble in a jazz situation. It seemed that, at least from a lot of the live things that I saw of David's group, that group kind of really reached this point that kind of transcended styles, and there was a kind of a level of group interaction that was very high. I was wondering if you could talk about that a little bit.
Well, what the group achieved under the leadership of David Sanchez is that his music is a study in composition of the different Afro, not only Afro music, but mainly the development of the African roots in this
Mm-hmm.
in the connection toward the Caribbean and Latin America. That with the classical influence and jazz influence, he was studying a lot of records at that time, a lot of Sonny Rollins, a lot of everybody. We were checking out Live on the Block, Nico, Miles. For me, it's one that record you should have. I remember we used to travel together and listen to music together. And also when we play, we listen to the tapes, kind of like a group vibe. It was at that time musicians from New York that were really, connecting, their roots. And when we travel, we try to always find that freedom in the when we were playing, like the interaction, everybody playing their parts, but at the same time, looking for listening, which is very important because when you are right now, you guys are listening to me and girls, but uh, when we are all talking or playing, it's an art form to listen, so you can interact with the other person. In music, it's the same. We are playing. The bass player is always playing. Sometimes I don't need to solo because I'm always being trying to be creative and develop a line. So when you are reacting to the drums, in that time, I play sometimes with Adam Cruz was the original one, and then Antonio Sanchez played. Clarence Payne did some of the records, and we played some of the stuff. Um, Bruce Bartz, Dave Kikoski, Edsel Gomez, Danilo Perez, all those piano players, they all have something in common. And Brad Meldau is that they listen, you know, and they react to the player. Sometimes they go with him, with the soloist, or they decide not to go with him, but support. It's not that preconceived thing. Oh, I want to play this. I have to put, I have to put the the this rhythm or this effect. I have to do it. It's what let's see what we can find together as a team. So we developed that, and it was very organic. And David, as a leader, he was always talking about that. Let's look for freedom in the harmony, but let's also keep your position, play your simplicity, play the groove, and let the music speak. Listen to it. Don't force things. You know, sometimes we tend to, oh, because we are putting a show for the people. We are entertaining people. We kind of like put together. We have to do this way, and that's okay. Some people, it's so good if you do it right and it's honest. That's cool. But it's also good when we were listening a lot to, I don't know if you guys know El Juicio, that period of Keith Jarrett, listening to the Impulse years, Do It Rap Man, kind of like listening a lot to that Joshua Ray, my father, and Charlie Hayden, we were trying to listening to that, but also listen to Elite Regina, Elite Regina with Hermeto Pascual, and listening to Irakere, listening to everybody, and also all the masters that came before us, all the elders, Roy Haynes, you know, Max Roach, Clifford Brown, you know, uh, Ron Carter, Ray Brown, listening to the masters, Kenny Barron, people that Mulgrew Miller, Kenny Kirkland, people that they really, well, Kenny Kirkland was half Puerto Rican, half black. He was for me Boricua, you know, Boricua Negro. And, and I love him. He's my friend. Jeff Watts, Master Jeff Watts. And when you see these people is about unity in the sound. Unity because there is only one root, and the root is Mother Africa. The roots are the roots of their music and their creativity comes from the power of that ancestry and that information, that data that comes from many centuries of people that have come before you playing music, you know, and that's very important. So David's group was a young group that was trying to do that in the Latin jazz. His music, it was, you could say it was Latin jazz, but it was music, because we were not playing like Poncho Sanchez, Master Poncho Sanchez, which I love that music, or Claire Fisher, or Carl Jader, because that for me is like straightforward, Latin jazz, but Latin, like I told you, it's a big thing. It's not only Afro-Cuban. It's not only tumbao. I record with Mongo. I play with Mongo. I have been blessed to play with Mongo Santa Maria. And the hip thing about Mongo is exactly like the same thing of Master Chico Farrer. Is the music have all the information of the roots of, let's say, Afro-Cuban, or let's say Afro-Caribbean music, but also you have influence of other parts of the world that are also connected. Like when you hear the trumpet suite, the Dizzy Gillespie that Chico wrote for Dizzy Gillespie, that is part of the repertoire of Chico Farrell on the book. You hear Arab influence. You hear music from other parts of the country too. And that's that from other part of the world, and that's very important because that's what DC was. That's who DC was. Chico was, and the forefathers of this music. So David Music had that, and we were searching for that. Danilo Music was also searching for that, and they still do. We still do. Thank you, Ian. That's a great question. Somebody else? So for Tumbao, I told you, I mentioned what you gotta do. Freedom. You have to understand the clave, and you need to do it organically. What means that? Means that you need to feel the sabor, but to feel the sabor, you need to Sabor is flavor. You need to eat. You need to inspire yourself. Inspire from the Greek means you need to breathe the music. The only way you do that, if you were not born there, is to listen to the records, to check out the videos. Today, you have the internet, and also to go to the rumbas, go to the toques, understand what is the instruments, la plena, la bomba, understand what is the toques of the bata, to really understand that, to 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 if you're gonna study the dance forms, understand what is salsa, why they call it salsa, why some people used to call that different, and then commercially was named whatever. You need to do a research, understand what Fanny All Star was, who were there, their music, understand Ray Barreto, Rick and Construction. Ooh. Understand what that music is, Hector Lavoe, check out all that Ray Barreto stuff, check out who Roberto Roena is. For me, he's like a Miles Davis of salsa, you know. And then you gotta also check out the big bands, and the scene that was happening here in New York. Mario Bausa, Tito Rodriguez. Check out all that. Check out also the stuff that were playing by Duke Ellington that have a lot of African influence and a lot of dance elements, because the dance element in music is the most important element because it relates to the body. People, you might not know about harmony, you might not know about melody, but you feel it, and that because it have an element that make you feel the beat. So Duke Ellington music, in some of the suites that he wrote, a lot of stuff and a lot of music material, you know, um, have a lot of African Caribbean influence too, and also the music from New Orleans have a lot of Caribbean. Is Caribbean for me. Going there is the Caribbean. So many people know the Spanish thing is something that have been for many years prior to to um, to the Congo Square um, uh, event opening. Before that, that melting pot was already as part of the whole thing. That then when the Congo, that's why Congo Square is so important, because it was already happening. People were already happening, you know, in the Caribbean. Caribbean is only one. The slaves were only a couple of boats away. So we are more united than what we are divided. That's the whole thing. Am
I
I?
have a I have a question, John.
Yes.
It's not related with the clave, but how could you relate the calypso music to the Caribbean? Because I can hear the calypso right in the base of son of Cuban son, and also in the reggae music and the rocksteady and the stuff, and music from Trinidad and Tobago. What
Yeah.
can you
No,
do?
not
You
only
know
that.
something about it?
Not only the styles that you mentioned, but also en el Orisa y en ritmos de bomba y plena from Puerto Rico. You hear that because that's also part of especially after the Haiti war. You know what I mean? The Haitian war. After that, when there was a spread, there were more liberation and more things that united the styles. Calypso is unbelievable. Plus the French influence on the brass. You know, also. Excuse me, let me turn on the air. So, is that making sense?
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Check out some of the rhythms from Plena. If you feel the pattern, tiriricu, 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 tiriricu de la campana. That's similar to, and there's some rhythm on bata that have that, like the yesa, you know, have a lot of connection with that too.
Thank you, Master.
Ah, and also forró from Brazil,
Yeah.
forró and the sambuca and that pulse, that boom 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 my, even if you do it slower, you know, it's very similar to that. So that's a good example of that unity in all the Caribbean. That's great. Who else? Come on.
I have a question.
Yes.
So the difference between the slave trade that brought blacks to the Caribbean, and there is also the Spanish influence in Venezuela and Colombia.
Yes.
I mean, how do you, I mean, this richness, how do you read, I mean, the patterns of rhythms? I mean, because in Venezuela I'm from Venezuela myself, and we have a lot of different patterns that can be 6/8, can be 4/4, can be 3/4, can be.
Yeah. Yeah. And for example, it's amazing because we have not talked about Colombia. I told you that there are more more than 427 typical instruments in Colombia.
That's right.
Venezuela have a lot of connections with Colombia, especially el área de los llanos.
Exactly.
And you know, there are some rhythms. Also, Peru. We have to talk about Peru. But let's go into what you're saying because you're from Venezuela. Venezuela, there is a lot of Afro. There's a group called Cumbe
That's right.
in Venezuela. That they're actually Cachete from the group Batacumbele used to travel a lot to Venezuela because in Venezuela there is a lot of African, for many years, a lot of African influence. Just like in Honduras, just like in Colombia, that there are parts in Colombia. Actually, if not the first city to be emancipated slavery was in Colombia in 1691. So, you know, and you find people there of color, what we call negritos. And when we call negrito is by love, you know what I mean? Not like they use it here.
That's right.
And in Venezuela, there is a lot of that. Venezuela, you have freedom so complex. You have San Millán, you know, you have also Onda Nueva, you have the Joropos. And it's amazing because sometimes it's not only the measure, but also the accents and the inner things that happen within the style that they sometimes don't accent on one, you know, or accent it all depends. Sometimes it might be in five, but it feels like in six. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of that three against two thing, which in Venezuelan music is very rich. Also, the instruments, they are very also related to the Arab influence too.
That's right.
Because the cuatro is one of the descendants of the Arab influence on Venezuelan music. So Venezuelan music also the something that we don't speak is about the lyrics, which the folklore people, the people that sings en los serranos, en los valles. We're not talking about Afro Venezuelan. We're talking about some other areas. The way the phrasings, the rhymes are uh, constructed is coming a lot. Have a lot to do with the way some of the Spaniard influence and some things that were coming from other regions like Arab, you know, the way the ending of the phrases and the rhymes also affect the music and affect the airs. Just to let you know, we have uh, we have more connections than what we think. There is there is a song SON in all Latin America. That people say, you know, the song is the way the rhyme is, the way the rhyme of the lyric. You understand?
Yeah.
So the whole the beauty of singing song is in all Latin America. That's why it's so beautiful and so rich. The lyrics, the romanticism, the love of the country, the war, religion, everything that have been involved in the songs and the music. Venezuela is a good example of that. And now with the new musicians that are uh, leaving from Venezuela, all this gathering of that roots and that work and those works of contemporary music being documented is being achieved
Okay.
properly. Am I making sense?
Yeah, definitely.
El merengue venezolano is unbelievable.
I know it's a very complex thing.
Yeah, but I like San Millán too. I love that too. And I like Culo de Puya también. Many rhythms.
I know.
Okay, somebody else, but I love them. Yeah. If you want to check out some good Venezuelan, check out a group of Guapo, check out a trio C Grammy winners. Check out, there is a young guy that I recommend listening. He's a jazz player, but he play a lot of um, check out also a young guy. He's a young guy, Gabriel Gajarski. He's a young kid, but he's amazing. There in LA, there Maestro, great keyboard player. There's Leo Blanco. There's a lot of Luis Perdomo, Master Luis Perdomo. So there's a lot of piano players that Ed Simon, you know, have make
Yeah,
arrangement,
yeah.
killing Venezuelan music,
Exactly.
yeah.
Okay, anybody else?
I had a question. Hi everyone. I'm not a bassist, but I'm interested a lot in. For me, it was mostly Afro-Cuban music, just about discovering Brazilian music. Sorry, should I speak up? You hear me?
Can you speak louder?
Yeah, I think my computer sometimes makes this horrible noise, which the microphone catches.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
I'm trying to yell. Basically, I just wanted to ask about what you were saying about the African influence on different rhythms. And I've read into basically the history of slave trade with the Middle East and specifically the Gulf countries. So I found that a lot of Gulf rhythms that have like a swing from African influence are actually related to some Puerto Rican or Cuban or yeah, Brazilian rhythms. And I wondered if you can recommend anything like anything to read more about kind of the African influence on rhythm specifically in any of the music you were talking about, Latin American different styles or folklore even.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let me. There are some people that you can research that they have a lot of information. Um, there are some books that I could, if you give me, if you give Zach your email, we could send you a private link of some ideas. But
Nice.
because it will take all the time to mention a lot of stuff. But
Yeah,
I
I
wanted
wanted
to.
to say really quickly, yeah, because I had some people asking me about some of the terminology and stuff. John and I will be coming up with like we'll send some extra materials to all of you. We'll come up with like a list of terminology, send you guys some records and lists of
Nice.
the names of people and groups John's been mentioning, because John has been dropping a lot of knowledge all over us right now with this. So it's going to be worth it to get to write some of that down. And I see Ian's writing stuff down, so that'll be helpful too. Sorry, John.
Yeah. And also, I want to tell you something that is very important. The the slavery started with the Arabs. The Arabs started taking a lot of African people as slaves. So when you their mix of Arab music, especially when you go south in those countries and Mediterranean and all that, you hear a lot of African unity between the rhythm, especially when you hear, like, for example, Moroccan music. When you hear music from certain parts, uh, uh, you hear the unity. Like you hear, wow, this sounds like almost like Santeria, or almost like like that. But you hear also the Ijala. You hear the Muslim singing. It's kind of like a mix, and that's important to know, because that's going to tell you that when we come to the Caribbean and Latin America, receiving some of the influence, it's already coming in a melting pot package. You understand?
Yeah.
So part of the stuff that I'm gonna send Zach is gonna give you a better idea where to research, and in the Caribbean, you're gonna see, in Latin America, the unity and the connection, connecting the dots, you know, with music, with rhythms. That's very important. Uh, Spanish music have a lot to do with this too, and the Ladino culture. There's so many stuff that we need to take in consideration. The French also. So there's a lot of things historically that we need to also have in our research. But remember, we are musicians, so we are using this in a way to take a focus into the music, and unite, connect the dots, so we can see, wow, there are more points of unity than actually things that separate us. That's why racism have no place in this planet, because it has been proved already that we are one under the sun. It's already proved. I speak that as an Afro Latino, you know.
John, I have a question. I'm wondering if you've spent any like you talk about how to get better at this stuff, you really gotta immerse yourself in it. Have you had any experience playing any percussion with other people? And can you just talk about it a little?
Yeah, it's very important if you want to play. What instrument you play?
Bass.
Yeah, it's very important that you at least grab, a conga or a tumbador, or at least the palitos, and try to understand the rhythms. When you speak about, let's say, if I give you, we're talking about, the clave. So, many people you say, okay, do one of the clave, do the 2 3. Some people do. I cannot even do it. It's not really swinging. Why? Because one of the things that you need to know to play percussion with that freedom is look into feel an organic way to understand where the spaces are. So one exercise I do is like this for your students. If you teach, you know what I mean? So and that space is perfectly in time. Or when you do this movement, that's a perfect space, and that have rhythm, and that comes from playing the percussion. I sing. Like when you do independent studies, one thing that you can do bass is that you can play the clave with your left hand. If you want, you could get my book, you know, uh, that Ian's wrote about me with the freedom in rhythm. You know how
Freedom in the clave.
freedom in clave. And one of the exercises we do is that we put you to do series of independent studies for you to liberate yourself. But let me give you an example. Right now, you could play the clave with the left foot or sing and sing pattern. I'm singing the masacote that the conguero will play. Copa chopa titi copa king copa topa titi copa topa king pa with this. When you do that, king copa topa titi copa topa then you start to feel where the space is for you to have a convergence point of unity with the conguero or tumbador. That's just one example. But you should do that with different styles. Then when we go into add meters, then I show you how to do that with playing in a more modern context of what. And I got an example that I'm gonna send you, and I'm gonna send with Zach playing giant step in 5. You know, and the 5 is actually a 10 because we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pa 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 pa. You understand? Pa 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 pa. 1, 1, 1, 1, and the same thing you're gonna do playing the tumbao and singing in 5. You see an example that you can start working on. Maybe you want to do send Zach an arrangement and tell, hey, whatever John was telling and was saying, this is an arrangement I did on a standard. Popapen, popepa, wobian, pepa. We're doing stablemates. But you have to fix the harmonic rhythm within that context. Is that giving you an idea?
Yeah, yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pa 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 pa. But that's a percussive. You could do it in anything. Other question. That's a good question, son. Let's get together. I give you a lesson. Don't worry. We do it. We get it. What else? Come on, Pamela. I see you smiling.
Yeah, I'm a violinist, but I teach theory in the I teach theory at a class in Brooklyn. And I mean, wherever it is in Queens, but I want so much to include in my theory class all of these rhythms. And because yeah, I've just been teaching the very basic how to read linear, but as far as going with the swing, I'll give them, well, we're already on pentatonics and stuff like that, but we need the swing. We need, that's what I was smiling about. I'm just getting all these ideas about how I can teach, actually translate these rhythms in our theory class.
Let me tell you something. This what you make me smile because I tell you why. Because a lot of our system, educational system. Hello, I don't want to criticize,
Yeah.
but what we are being trained is with a lot of European and Western civilization
Yeah.
melodies that is important because it's the tradition of this classical music and
Mhm.
folk
Yeah.
music. But if we will take and do methods of teaching our students and our kids to really understand the African influence, Arab influence,
Yes.
Indian music, Chinese,
Yes.
all that included
Yeah.
in melodies and the rhythms, and sing them, sing
Absolutely.
like what
Hmm.
you're saying is right on the money,
Yeah.
and the freedom from an early age, our
Uh-huh.
kids will be um, um, will be the next uh, the next masters of the
Yeah.
development will be, but that's part. I don't want to bring the racial and let's
Uh-huh.
not bring the negative things,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the positive thing is that our attitude is if we could find a way for people to write like what you want to do, is
Yeah.
a seed of freedom. It's
Yeah.
a seed of freedom, and
Absolutely.
I applaud that.
Yeah.
And so use any resource
Yeah.
that you can. Actually,
Sure.
you could check out my book, the book that we wrote with Ian, and that book have a lot of philosophical points and a lot of
What's the
tools.
book again? I'm sorry, what's the book?
Ian, can you please mention the name of the book?
Ian?
Freedom in the Clave.
Oh, okay. Oh, that
Yeah,
right.
right. Yeah,
Freedom in the Clave. Yeah, John,
it's on
thank you,
Amazon.
Ian. On where else?
Yeah,
But
right.
anyway, what's important, you were speaking of the freedom and experiencing the rhythms organically, because it's not on the paper, it's just a bunch of lines and dots and blah blah blah. But I think if there were, or I feel if there were a or at least a template or something to activate, or to activate that instinct, the rhythmic instinct, so that you can get off the paper, just let that be an access point to to whatever, however the rhythm is notated.
That's why
I
singing.
Yeah,
That's why singing is very important because
yeah,
singing is the connection to the soul for me.
Absolutely. I'm a singer.
So for me, when you hear the percussion players, they all sing. They might not sing in tune, or what we think is out of tune, but it
Oh
might be
yeah.
microtonal, whatever. But
Hmm.
it's they singing, and the
Yeah.
melody is in their heart. They humming the rhythm. They humming. Mm, 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 mm. Boom, boom,
Ah.
boom, 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 boom.
Ah.
Ble, 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 ah. Ba la le o le a la la la
Right. Right.
ye
Right.
le me ma ya ma ga da ma da ya. Ba la ba la 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 la.
Awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Thank you, John.
Check out when you hear the rumbas. Check out a lot of the grupos rumberos. Zach, how we doing with the time, Zach? I like to talk a lot.
Man, I mean, it's up to you, man. We're doing well. We've been here for a little over an hour. We've been here about an hour 15 minutes, but you know, you can go as long as you want. If people still got questions for you, if you want to play some more, whatever you want to do, man, it's up to you.
Let me finish talking to Pamela, and then any other question, and then maybe we do another section, more with rhythms, with more exercises.
Cool.
We could do a second
We can
section.
do we can do this again sometime. We can schedule the sequel like we were saying earlier.
Yeah.
We better to talk about um, certain things of the music too, like improvisation aspects and certain tools that we can use to create music. And maybe Sam will like that. I see that he will like that.
Yeah. I same here. Same here. Same.
Sam is an incredible young bassist. He was a member of our Fat Cats, our youth orchestra, and he's man
Uh,
copping the feel of Tumbao really quick. He's a bad dude.
Nice. We're gonna have fun then.
Yeah.
So so Pamela, so going back to that, singing is important. So check out some rumbas. Check out the Yoruba Andavo, Grupo
Yeah.
Yoruba Andavo. Okay? Check out los
um,
Muñequitos de
I write it down.
okay, thank you, baby.
los Yoruba Andavo with Y. Yoruba Andavo. Check out Pancho Quinto. Check out Grupo Afrocuba. Los Muñequitos de Matanza. Check out those groups, you know.
Thank you. I will. Absolutely. I'm so happy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Also check out Buica.
Wika?
Buica, she's a singer from Spain. She's African, Moroccan, but Hispanic from the south part.
Okay.
Buica, she sings a lot. I record with her. There's an album that I did with her that has Siboney, the song Siboney for Warner Brothers, and she's a Grammy winner. She's killing. And
How do you spell her name?
Buika, Buika.
Oh, Wika. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Check out
will.
Yeah.
It
She's very good. Big fan.
Buika, and also there is a record I recommend to everybody that I did with Pedrito Martinez. It's called El Camarón de la Isla. Uh, I recommend you, Sam, check that record too for you bass player and Ian. And actually, um, that record from Buika, is very good too. I recommend you that. And the records with David Sanchez that I played, with Eric Palmieri, also with Bebo Valdez,
Mhm.
those are good records. I recommend highly. And with Manuel Valera, the first Cuban Express record, that's a good record too. And so far, that's what we have. I want to thank everybody. If there is any other question,
Well, we want to know when you're gonna do the next one.
so he says, el boss, el jefe, Zach.
Exactly. Boss.
But we'll have to book part 2 real soon. But I'll make sure everyone knows when it's happening.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
We go further into maybe Sam can play for me, and I could give him some advices in front of everybody if he's cool with that. And I could have also Pamela. Maybe you want to sing a song. You know, um, try to learn in Spanish a song called Soy la Arena, Hola y Arena de Silvia Resach. No, Silvia Resach, Olas y Arenas. O-L
Olas
y
en
Arenas.
arenas.
Y
I mean,
Arenas.
so,
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you, Carlos.
yeah. And also
Solas.
check out Graciela singing with Tito Puente. And
I'd
also
love
Graciela, Graciela. Those are singers. Eli Regina, you know, of course. Eli Regina, the record you should check is Eli Regina and Hermeto Pascual duo in Switzerland.
Oh,
Festival.
well, okay. Okay, that's a bet. Thank you.
Zach, any other questions?
No, I think we're good, man. I just want to say thank you very much for sharing your time and sharing your wisdom and experience with us, man. I think we got a lot of people who want to do it again real soon. So we'll have to get that going, man.
That's right. I second that.
Next time we play. I love you all.
Thank you.
We are one. We are one.
Thank you, John, and thank you all for joining us and participating. If you like this and you like what we're doing, just remember to check out AfroLatinJazz.org. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram because we have master classes every Wednesday at 5:00, and we hope to see you again. And just follow us, support us, and we're gonna keep making good music together. Right. All right. Peace out.